That's interesting. Does this actually work? Oh, it doesn't. That'd be great if it works. You just put your kids on it, maybe hook it up to a little dynamo and have them just generate power while they're sitting. Be cheaper than a Ritalin prescription. You can tell this is a smelting pot with the heavy thing and the pour spouts. $19. There's a repair. Look at that. Cheap cookies. Oh, what we got here? Best Made SR and Company number 9. What is SR and Company? This definitely looks old. Also looks like it's chromed or something. That looks like a crack in it right there. What do you make of this? Did somebody grind on it? $25. I think somebody took a grinder to this because you can see the handle. It looks different. Couple of strikes on it. There's what appears to be a crack right there, and it's on the inside too. Yeah, look at that. You can see the scratches. Interesting. This could be like something Wagner made for. Oh, that's Sears, SR and Company. That's what that is. Look at that. Sears, Roebuck and Company. Neat. Okay. But is it worth $25? I don't think so, but I'm going to take some pictures of it because that's a pretty neat find. But I think this has been just grind and polished. That's a shame. If you can read this, you're in my sights. Shame you didn't spend as much time in spelling class as you did in shooting class. Cast iron. You see, that's like it looks like a modern. It says number 10 there. That's weird. So it says River Valley Electric Cooperative, 70 years of service, 1939 to 2009. Touchstone Energy brands. And I know people collect these branded things. This one looks pretty darn specific, huh? I wonder how many of them were actually made. Is there a market for it? Who made it? It doesn't look like Lodge. Slightly different design. I'm probably going to pass on it for $21, but I bet some of you out there would be like, no, get it. I just don't know. I don't know what I would do with it. Let me know in the comments. Lodge, 3-notch number 3, $22. Unmarked Wagner. This is an early 3-notch. You can see it has an obverse mold mark on it. That's your shift mark there. Just has a number 5. Almost looks like it's hand drawn. So this is going to be an early one. This, probably an unmarked Wagner. Where they have unmarked Wagner number 8. Lodge BSR number 10 Century. This looks odd. Where do they have it as a unmarked cast iron skillet? Looks might be modern, yeah. I would say this is Asian. See how the opening in the handle is smaller than your Lodges, are typically a little bit larger. And the BSRs, there's a Lodge. I find the Asians have a little smaller holes in the handles. That's one of the giveaways. Another 3-notch number 3. So one of the things I've learned in trying to scope out cast iron at these places is cast iron's heavy, right? So you want to look down on the lower sections, because I found that's often where you'll find it more likely to be hiding if it's not obvious. I thought that was plastic, but this looks like it is cast iron, huh? with a screw on it. That's neat. Let's take a look at this. Is that a gate mark? There looks to be some kind of name on it. It's neat. Is there not a price on it? It's a shame. No price on it. Let's look at what other things are priced for. And $7 for a potato masher, so it might have been pretty high. Okay, these must be what she was telling me about. Let's take a look at this. Oh, that's a number 8, $3 Lodge. 25. This is a modern Lodge. 33. So there was another unusual piece I was told is in this booth. Let's see if we can find it. Pretty cluttered up. Where is it? Oh, here we go, up against the wall. Let's see. That tells me Asian. Yeah, this is the one she was talking about. It says Philip Richard International Cast Iron. International, a nice way of saying made in China or Taiwan. I don't think that's old at all. See the small tiered up opening. This could be a Wagner. No, Modern Lodge. This is probably Pioneer Woman. I recognize that style. Yep. It's nice when at least the moderns are stylized so that you can recognize them more easily. So now would be a good time to talk about the evolution of Lodge skillets. So let's talk a little bit about that. You've got the before stuff, the current modern collectible stuff that they made a lot of, and then, well, this is the modern. This is like the sweet spot middle area, and then this is the before. So let's go over a little bit about Lodge and where they've come from. So obviously Lodge is one of the oldest and still the longest operating cast iron foundry. The most common collectible Lodges that you'll find are not marked. They are known as the 3-notch, with a heat ring with 3 notches on them. And they come in a wide variety of different configurations because they were making these all by hand, and they had different molds, and some of them were older and some of them were more modern. So you find lots of interesting variations, and this is one of the reasons why vintage cast iron is so collectible, because in the era of mass producing these things, every single skillet is identical for the most part. These early ones, they all have unique markers on them because every mold was different. If something went wrong, they would identify it with the mold mark, and they knew that mold needed to be destroyed or reworked or something. So let's talk about it. So Lodge originally did mark their skillets. So why don't we go through from the very beginning, and we'll work our way back. And let's look at some of the earliest Lodges, aside from when they were called Blacklock, which there's very little of these. Here's an example of a very early Lodge. Heat ring, no notch, actually marked with the Lodge Arc logo. You can see there's mold marks in their obverse. They're sticking out. This is one of the earlier things. You can see the sulfur pitting. Beautiful, super duper smooth, a little dusty because it's been sitting. But just a beautiful pan, nice, thin, big pour spouts. Obverse 8 on the handle. That's how you identify these older ones. And then, so they made them in a number of different variations. Here's a very similar one, but you'll notice it's not marked. Or if it was, it's been obliterated by the sulfur pitting. But I don't think this one was marked. But it's just very similar. So they made a lot of them where they didn't even mark them. Super smooth in the inside from just decades and decades of use, too, in addition to them being polished. So those are the early no-notch Lodges. Here is a single-notch Lodge, which came a little bit later. Continuous heat ring with 1 notch at 12 o'clock. Hand-scribed 8. And you can see the obverse mold mark. Again, nice and thin with big pour spouts. Beautiful, beautiful skillet. Then we get into the 3 notches. Now, I don't think I have a 3-notch with an obverse mold mark, but there are some of them out there. So these early ones, you can see the hand-scribed 3 notches, the mold mark, and then a couple of dots here indicating the shift. And there's lots of different variations of these things. Here's another one. You can see it's a little bit heavier. This is an example of, around the same era, 2 different molds. You'll see this one is very thin with big pour spouts. This is very reminiscent of the earlier Lodges and was probably used one of the early molds. You see the nice big pour spouts in the thin walls. And then you look at this guy right here, and it's much thicker, it's beefier. You can even see the swirl marks in this one from where they finished it. They don't do that anymore. This is one of the reasons why these things are collectible. They're polished and milled smooth. 3 notches. And the earliest versions just have the number. If it's hand scribed, it's probably earlier and more sought after. If the mold mark is obverse sticking out, it's going to be older. This one doesn't seem to even have a mold mark. There's lots of different variations of these things. But the 3-notch era lasted for quite a long time. And then I'll show you how it transitioned into a modern pan. Now, these modern pans are made on automated machines. You see much smaller pour spouts so they could fit more pans per mold, because they could make multiples of them at the same time. You'll also notice that it's significantly more rough. They did not hand finish any of these or mill them. They instead would tumble them in a vibrating vat full of ball bearings, and it would kind of just slightly smooth things over. So here we have a 3-notch. This is like a transition piece. This is called the Lodge Egg logo. You can see they've got a fancy logo. 3 notches, very hefty. And then here's another version of the same skillet without the notches. Still has the heat ring. And there's lots of different variations of how the designs of these skillets changed over time. So this one is similar, but again, rough, machine made, small pour spouts. And then we get to what's seen now as the more modern version of the pan with the helper handle, with the logo on the handle there. Again, you can see how rough it is. And they got rid of the heat ring, and they have like a little incised ring, so it's all flat. So it can work on glass stoves as well as older stoves. And you can see the Lodge Egg logo is smaller in the middle. And this is more what you're likely to find today versus the really old ones. You could just see how there's a difference in the delicacy of the pans and how much smoother they are. So that's it. I want to thank everybody for watching and tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't. I want to thank everybody for tuning in and enjoying the video series and supporting me thus far by subscribing and clicking like and all of that. And if you want to catch me on TikTok, sometimes I have previews of what I'm working on that I haven't published lately. That's at TikTok/@WisdomStudio. And if you're on Facebook, look up the group Vintage Cast Iron Hunting, Restoration, Identification, and Sales. And until next time.